Hey, hello, welcome to the show. It's me, John Park. It is John Park's Workshop right here where we are. Thank you for hopping on board today. We've got people in our chats, and I thank you for coming by over in the YouTube chat. Robert Cochran, hello. Beatograf Avdelhagen, howdy. Robert says, I'm very interested in knowing if there's an ESP32 board that I can order in anticipation of your project. Oh, why, yes, there is. We'll talk about that. And over in our Discord, we've got this here. You can go to adafruit.it/Discord, look for the live broadcast chat channel, and hang out with the likes of Andy Calloway, John Nodge, Mouse, Split City DIY, Thin Man, Paul Cutler. Hello, hello, hello. We are just gearing up right here for some fun in the workshop. I've got a bunch of different things going on today that I'm excited to share. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you for popping on in and spending a little of your time with me here today. Let me pause some little replay things going on in the background. Oh, wait, Facebook. I didn't kick that live. Maybe it went live on its own. We'll see. All the things are doing weird things, but it looks like we're streaming. Hey, yay. So what do we have going on today? I will tell you, I have a coupon code for you that you can use to buy some neat stuff in the Adafruit shop at a discount. I have a recap of my Tuesday show. I've got a CircuitPython Parsec for you. I'm going to go over a Learn Guide recap, recently published guide. What else on the workbench? I've got a little tooltip kind of thing, a little 3D printed tool handle for an existing thing. I've got maybe a little typewriter repair thing. I'll show you what I'm up to with repairing an old typewriter. And I've got this ESP-NOW project that's kicking off. It's actually not the next project, it's the project after that, but it involves some stuff that we've been looking at. My little parametric ball creation thing I was showing you in Rhino and Grasshopper a week or two ago. That's going to involve an ESP-NOW thing. So is that it? That might be it. Oh yeah, so there's a project that's going to be next, but I was running into some issues. I borked my board uploading code, but that's going to be on one of these fruit jams. This is a revision A prototype. Things are newer now. I should be getting a newer one pretty soon, and then I'll be commencing with a neat little project on Fruit Jam. I'll probably actually pivot that over to Metro RP2350 first, just because it's one that can run on both, and that way you can get going with that if you have that hardware now before Fruit Jam comes out. Whew! All right, that's a lot, right? So let's actually do it. Let's not just talk about it. So first of all, I have a coupon code for you. If you want to save some money and make yourself hungry potentially in the process, look no further. The coupon code today is pastrami. That's right, P-A-S-T-R-A-M-I, all caps. I did it in all caps. I'm not sure if that matters or not. Try it in both. But when I say try it, what I mean is go to the store, not to buy some pastrami, but to the Adafruit store to buy some stuff, electronics. Throw those things in your cart, and on the way out in the coupon code slot, type that right there, pastrami. That'll save you 10% off on all of the things that we can send to you that you buy. It will not work on gift certificates, subscriptions, or software, but it will work on physical goods. As you can see here, we got a couple of new things out, such as this e-ink display for fans of West Germany's flag. We have quad color e-ink display that does red, yellow, white, black, or I guess red, yellow, and black. White is implicit to the not displaying things. The quad color e-ink display and the bare display on its own, if you want to plug that into a board with a little connector on it. Those are a couple of new options, but if you take a look at the new products link, we got a bunch of interesting little things like these base boards for mini breadboards. I've never seen these before. Look neat. Lego up your little breadboard experience maybe. And another e-ink. That one's not in stock right now. This will only work on things that are in stock. You can't do rain checks. We don't like to take your money and then be responsible for sending you stuff much later. We don't do that. So stuff that's in stock you can buy, and you can get a coupon code 10% off with pastrami. That's all I got for that. Bork, 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 says the Swedish chef. Oh, jeez. That cleaver is menacing. All right, next. I have a show on Tuesdays. It looks like that. It is the product pick of the week, and on the show I grab a new thing or an old thing from the store. This is a pretty new thing this week. And do a demo for you and give you a big whopping 50% discount on it in this case. That discount's just good during the show, so you gotta tune in. Sorry, that one happens live. This show appears inside the product page, inside your computer, in your home, or wherever you are. Here's a little 1-minute recap. That right there, that's the product pick of the week this week. It is the dual-sided emitter NeoPixel LED strip. 120 LEDs per meter, and it is 1 meter. What looks like a single LED, but that LED has an emitter on this side and it has an emitter on that side. I happen to be using it with one of our neat little Sparkle Motion sticks, USB sticks that plug in. So I'm facing a LED toward the camera here, and one is on my face. You can see it here. We've got light coming out this side. We've got light coming out that side. That's really cool for certain types of prop effects. If we do go to this side view, maybe prop effects, edged weapons, things like that. That right there is my product pick of the week this week. It is the dual-sided emitter NeoPixel 120 LED per meter, 1 meter strip. Yeah, that's what it was. By the way, I was speaking very loose and fancy free when I said Lego up your breadboards with this new little system. These are not Lego stud compatible. Thank you for that clarification over in the chat, Tyeth. Not Lego stud compatible. It's just Lego-like. So I was using that colloquially. There's great danger in colloquialisms. All right. The question from Andy Calloway, are these 120 on each side? No. 120 total LED packages, and each one of those little packages has an emitter on either side. So there are essentially 240 emitters. Well, yeah, okay, you're right. Yeah, it is 120 per side. 120 on this side, 120 on that side. There are 120 little dual emitters on there. Yes, sorry, I totally misunderstood that. Only 120 addressable dual elements, so you can't light one half and then the other half on the sides. They act each as a single NeoPixel. I think I've made that more confused. Let's see. Next up, hey, let's get into a CircuitPython Parsec. CircuitPython Parsec. On the CircuitPython Parsec today, I'd like to show you how you can generate random numbers using floating analog pins on your microcontroller inside of CircuitPython. So here you can see I have a Feather RP2040 microcontroller. This will work with pretty much any board that has analog inputs. And there are probably other ways to do it with boards that don't, but most of the boards that we have analog inputs. And what I'm doing is I am reading the values on these analog inputs, but I have not tied them to ground, which is usually what we do. You usually tie an analog pin to ground and read it or split it ground and voltage if you're using a potentiometer to see where the voltage is lying. But if you leave them floating like this, they essentially act as little antennas for all kinds of voltages flying around in the environment, which are constantly changing. What I'm doing is I'm actually reading all 4 of those, and then I'm adding them up so we get some nice random numbers. Let me set this running, and you can see here it's these 4 pins, A0, A1, A2, A3. On some boards you got 6 pins. You could use all of those or more depending on the board. And what you're seeing is each of the 4 values there I'm printing, and then I'm adding those up. And you could do other kinds of math with these if you wanted, and then get smaller numbers if you run them through modulo to act like a dice throw, that sort of thing. But it is a truly random number, unlike pseudo-randomness of algorithms. If you need a real random number, depending on the kind of project you're doing, one way to do it is just to simply pull these analog pins. The way we do this is we import analog I/O, the board for board definition and time, so we're not constantly pinging. We're going to pause a little bit. And then I'm setting up these 4 pins as analog inputs, board A0, A1, A2, A3. And then I'm reading those values into this little list here, grabbing all of those during the main loop. I then add those together, and then I'm printing them out. And so that is how you can get random numbers from your microcontroller by reading floating pins. And that is your CircuitPython Parsec. Oh, now I'm getting in trouble because this is not actually truly random. It's a good point. I said real random versus pseudo-random. More random than running algorithms off of like milliseconds past and the random library that we have in CircuitPython, but not fully random for that. Point a webcam at a bunch of lava lamps or read other sources of entropy. Robert Cochran asks, am I using CircuitPython 10? I think I am on this board. That's an excellent question. The way we can find out, actually, is I'm just going to, since you can see this, in my text editor here, I'm going to open up the bootout.txt that's sitting on the CircuitPython drive, and that tells me I'm on 10.0.0 alpha 8. On some of my other projects that I'm working on right now, I'm using the beta that just came out, so beta 0.1, I believe it is. So yeah, pretty close to current here on this board. This particular tip would work on most any version of CircuitPython because we're just asking for analog pin values, not doing anything too fancy. Yes, Beatagraph of Delhagen, it's basically just capacitive touch. It's the capacitance of those pins floating and anything going on in the air on the chip, in me getting closer to it or not. You can see here if I let this run, it's getting different values randomized by all the different factors around it. And you can make those more extreme just by touching it. You can see here these values have sort of a broader range now. All right. Oh, and we've got a little classic comic there from XKCD. Int get random number, return 4. chosen by fair dice roll. Guaranteed to be random. Yes, and Beatagraph of Delhagen says, works well if you're not using it for security. So I should caveat this. You probably aren't going to want to use this for high security situations. Toddbot mentions over on YouTube, in general, please try out CircuitPython alphas and betas. They're very good, and the latest versions have new features. Yeah, and I really like to use those new versions of CircuitPython so that I can run into issues quickly, early, and hopefully get people to take a look at them and fix them before they go into wider use. So I'm almost always on the alpha versions of CircuitPython. If you have questions about getting there, let's take a moment to show you. All you got to do is head to circuitpython.org, go to Downloads, And if you look at the board you're using, in this case I'm on a Feather RP 2040, you'll see we've got the latest stable release up in the upper right corner, so 9.2.8. But then right below that will be the latest beta that's out. And so in this case it is 10.0.0 beta.0. So you can grab that very easily from there. If you want to get the real up-to-the-minute stuff, you can click this little browse the S3 link. This is our Amazon S3 storage, and then pick the language you're using. I'm using English US. And then right up at the top here, scroll to the side, you'll see a latest up to the moment. I think there's a date stamp in there, so this is 2025/7/17, which is today, and then the PR that it's based on. So if you want to stay super current, you can go grab those and install those UF2s. And Robert Cochran says, yeah, I have 10 beta on my boards. Excellent. Okay, next up, since I've got a browser window open, let's take a look at, oh, I wanted to do a little plug. I'm going to be recording an episode of this excellent podcast coming up. I think, is it a week from now? I think, no, week from tomorrow I'll be recording it. I'm not sure when it comes out. Todd's in the chat, Paul's in the chat. But this is hosted by Paul Cutler and Todd Kurt, and this is as it says, a monthly podcast loading you up with news, project updates, and product talk from the Maker, Tech, and CircuitPython communities. So I get to go on there with a couple of things I want to talk about, either products, projects, things. So I'm excited. My dog woke me up yesterday morning at 4 in the morning to go out, and as I tried to get back to sleep, I suddenly realized, aha, I know what one of the things I'm going to do is. It has nothing to do with the dog or going to the bathroom, but so lots of care has gone into coming up with these ideas. I think I know what the second one is too. So go check out the Bootloader wherever you download your podcasts. You can go to thebootloader.net. And there's a lot of great past episodes to check out. They're all interesting tips from guests as well as Paul and Todd. So recommendation there. Next up, I'm going to go to the Learn system. Oh, and Paul says that episode will be out August 4th. Thank you for up to the second update. Robert says, I hope that podcast will be captioned. That's a good question. Are those captioned? Perhaps someone can answer. So heading over to the Learn system, I just published the knobby sequencer guide, or it just went through moderation and got published yesterday morning, I believe it was. So this is the project I've been showing on the show for the last few weeks as I work on this. It is now ready for you to check out, download, get the circuit, get the parts, build it, the case for it, 3D print it or laser cut it, the software, download it, put it on your board, and you're up and running. This runs on a, as you can see here, QT Py RP 2040, 4 of these quad encoder, rotary encoder boards. There are 6 of these NeoPixel sticks in them, and so I can show you what I'm talking about as I talk about it. That's it right there. It's enormous. It's not as big as my keyboard, computer keyboard, that is. Not quite as big as the keyboard there, but pretty big. But I wanted to keep it shallow so it can sit right behind the keyboard and be available there. It's a bunch of knobs. And speaking of knobs, the encoders that we sell, the little encoder kits, those come with a knob, but if you have other compatible encoders that you've gotten that don't have knobs, or you just want to be extra fancy, you can purchase these knobs. They actually conveniently come in packs of 4, and I used 4 packs of 4 to get the very cool Roland 808 style colorway there. I also particularly like these cream colored knobs instead of glaring white. So we have both white and cream. The cream just has a creamy vintage look to it, so I really like that. And then some cables, snap mount, and wiring bumper feet for the bottom so it doesn't slide around there, and the nylon M2.5 hardware that I put it together with. next in the guide to show you how to get CircuitPython on the board. Here is the code. You can download the little Bundlefly project bundle. Oh, my internet is acting slow. There we go. And if you hit this little download project bundle, that will give you the, I believe, CircuitPython 8 and 9. It gives you release 9 and the previous versions MPY libraries, the compiled libraries. So you can get those and the code file. And in this case, there's also a helper file which is the scales.py file, the scales that we reference for different musical modes and scales. So go grab your code there, and I've tried to comment it aggressively, as well as throw a little bit of description about how the code works for each major component of it and function down here at the bottom. And then we've got the circuit here. I put a little fritzing diagram that you can check out for the wiring, and address jumpers that you'll set for the 4 boards. You can get up to 8 of these boards, by the way, these rotary encoder seesaw boards, to run on a single I2C bus. So if you wanted to make a really nice wide 32 step or stack them, do 2 rows of 16, you could potentially have 2 channels of MIDI. So you could run a bass and a keyboard synth at the same time using these. That would be an update to software. I don't have it written that way, but you could potentially use this in a number of different ways. Connect up your boards, which is just plug and play. By the way, I show it here, and I didn't mention it explicitly, but the NeoPixel sticks, if you want to align those perfectly and solder them easily, we've got this little stick vise. And I love this thing. You can see I've got mine in 2017. I have used it almost daily ever since. And there is one add-on I like, which is the high temperature PTFE jaws, which you can add to these so that they don't melt under the heat of your solder. But if you put these little NeoPixel sticks, they slide in there perfectly. It's 1.7 millimeters thick, or whatever a PCB standard height is, in that little kind of channel groove there. Put it in there, and they're lined up perfectly. So now you can go and drop a little resistor leg piece or other wire and solder up those. Let me show you a close-up of what I'm talking about. Solder these up here. So that's a little tip, a little bonus tip there I didn't mention in the guide. Maybe I'll put a link to that stick vise in there, but I love that thing. That thing has worked out great for me. And then solder the NeoPixels to the QT-Py 3 pins that are actually right next to each other. I was able to use ground 3 volt and the MO pin, since I'm not using SPI. So those are right next to each other, which I always like when that works out. Then there's the full set of the NeoPixels lined up, connect it all, and then we'll assemble it. Here you go. Those are the case top and bottom and the diffuser. I had some versions of those that I was laser cutting. However, I faced a tragedy. Well, it's something that happens every few years. It's been 7 years since I replaced my CO2 laser tube in my laser cutter. I have a lovely Epilogue Zing laser cutter, which I've had for many year, over a decade. Maybe more like 15 years. So I've changed the tube twice in it, but I haven't gone and done that yet. So I ran out of gas, ran out of juice in the CO2, and that's just a reality of CO2 laser tubes. So I used the exact same files that I was laser cutting and just extruded them a bit and created a 3D print file. But this is clearly a very laser cutter 2D CNC. You could even use hand tools 3D print the file, the SVG file here, as a template if you want, and hand tools cut that. I've also got STL files for the 3D printing, and I put together this 3MF file, which I believe is the file format originally from Prusa Slicer, which is, I'm using a Bamboo Labs, Bamboo Studio, which I think is derived from Prusa Slicer. I'm sure there's lots of drama in that, because there's never anything in 3D printing that doesn't have loads of drama, but That said, I like it. I like 3MF file, and that allows me to lay out multiple beds so that you can print 1, 2, 3 of these in subsequent prints with different settings on them. And I was stretching the limits of size on my printer. It's a Bamboo Labs X1 carbon that I have, and putting it diagonally was the way to print the size of this thing. There's the little LED diffuser, and then assembly instructions here of connecting up the little CircuitPy mount. I really like that CircuitPy mount. It's super helpful since the CircuitPy is based on the Zhao form factor, which does not have mounting holes on it. I've got a great love for this little snap fit case that the Ruiz brothers designed. You can 3D print that. I could have integrated it into this design since I am 3D printing it now. Or you can buy SLS printed ones that we sell on the Adafruit shop. They're not that expensive. Encoder standoffs go on next. I think these are the 8mm hex standoffs under all of them. And then those connect up through the top plate. We get the little nuts screwed onto the shafts of the encoders. And then we get to add those knobs onto there. Some nice mentions. Wood might be a nice idea for the flat parts. Yeah, for sure. In fact, if my laser cutter were up and running, I like to make stuff like that out of wood. It looks neat. Very good point. There's the final thing, and then use it. I've got a little video here that shows a little demo of it in action. I put a little visual guide there. I kind of think that tells you all you need to know about the settings mode, which is just the double click of the first encoder while it's playing. We'll go into settings mode, and then you can adjust those settings in real time. I will say, since I'm polling the knobs more frequently in settings mode, we lose time accuracy. You'll hear it start to either drag a bit or sort of swing or shuffle a little, and that is just in this settings mode. When you get out, you'll hear the regular time. But I thought it'd be nice to still hear the thing playing while you're noodling with the settings. You don't want to do that stuff in the dark. And that is it. That's the guide there. So go check that out if you're interested in making a little knobby MIDI sequencer. Some ideas for upgrades to it you could consider. UART, if you want to, you could add a small circuit to do UART MIDI, or plug it into one of our, we have a feather MIDI feather wing that you can plug in over I2C, and that'll give you a nice UART classic MIDI output if you want to go out to classic gear. Or use it for anything you want. I designed it for note sequencing, so muting and the pitch. But you could turn this into an anything board. You could do USB HID instead of MIDI. Make it a controller for Photoshop or who knows what. Question I got in the chat about. Go back a page. No, I'll go up to this. Question about what do these stand for? Okay, so tempo. That's how fast it's going. Octave. You can. With the knobs, you can go, I think, a full octave or 2. I can't remember. If you want to just transpose the whole thing down or up multiple octaves, that yellow knob will do that. Transpose will just transpose everything you're playing by semitones, so you can just move it up and up and up and down, down, down. The scale modes, those are things like a major pentatonic, a minor Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian on the first knob, and then the others go into some non-Western modes. Gamelan, some raga scales, Eastern European scale, there's an Irish scale in there. Then velocity, you can adjust. So MIDI, how hard you press a key on a velocity-sensitive keyboard is 0 to 127. I think I start by default at 100, but you could make it act like it's pressing harder or softer, which is essentially a volume knob for MIDI. Or you can humanize the velocity, which is just a randomizer, which means every note isn't exactly the same. Oh, did I misspell it? Octave, that's what you're saying. All right. I didn't need to explain all that. You were just caught up. Thank you. Yeah, this is the danger of baking things in with Photoshop, is that's not, I have to go back to Photoshop to edit that. Thank you. Octave. Do you know the pocket operator Tonic? Side story. Pocket operator Tonic. This thing right here. Let's go to a close-up of it. Are they going to show it? This has a fun spelling error in the LCD. I think it was somewhat intentional. There are 3 preset tempos, and then you can dial in anything you want. No, it won't show it. Okay, if you look here where it says hip hop in the upper left corner, that's one of the tempos. I forget what the next one is, and the last one is tencho instead of techno. It's like a misspelling of the word tencho. I think they said it was because one of the designer's kids had written that and they liked it. But anyway, octave. Maybe I'll leave it that way. Let's go back here. Is that all? Yeah. And then randomize, that will, within the key and scale mode and octave that you're currently playing things, randomize will pick notes from the octave and a half or so, whatever it is, that you're in, and randomize the muting. So you can just turn that and get interesting sounding stuff inside of what you're playing already. And I demoed that a bit last night on Show and Tell, and my video up here will show you that as well. Also, if you're interested, last night on Show and Tell, I showed this running, but actually talked about how I used the black box, this sample workstation here that I love so much, to play back multisamples. I talked about what multisamples are, which is a nice way to play a sampled instrument that sounds much more real, much more pleasing than taking a single sample and trying to digitally raise and lower its pitch. So if you want to learn a little bit about multi-sample, there's better guides out there on the internet. You can just look it up, but I demoed it last night on Show and Tell, so you can take a look at that. All right, Leslie, let me catch up on misunderstanding people's messages to me in real time. Let's see. Octave is next week's discount code. Yeah, it should be. Isn't that the last name of Spider-Man villain? Yes, Dr. Octave. John Nudge says, you don't have to worry about the jaws melting on that vise if your soldering iron doesn't work. I got it working. I got it working, I promise. Some 3D printable knobs. That's cool. Yeah, knobs aren't cheap, so if you want to 3D print them, do it. Paul also mentioned regarding the the Bootloader podcast, they do publish a transcript of the episode on their website. So if you want to read it or help with comprehension or hearing, you can listen and read at the same time. That'll be available. Thanks, Paul. That's excellent. Good. Let me check out my my other feed here, which is over on YouTube land. Yes, transcripts on the episodes. Someone asked about. Oh, David Essa says maybe that vise could feature on JP's pick of the week sometime. Do we have enough in stock? I don't do those if we don't have 100 of something in stock. But that can change too. Let's see. Stick vise is in stock. Yeah, if it just says in stock, sorry, I wasn't showing this to you. If it just says in stock, that means that we have over 100. And yeah, I'll check about that. Obviously, for a thing that's not a first-party Adafruit produced thing, we don't have the margins to do 50%, but we've done non-Adafruit stuff before, and we'll usually do a good discount, just so it won't be a full 50% off. But this thing is kind of neat too, by the way. This is not a paid advertisement for Stickvise, but this little springy lifter, if you're flipping something over and have a heavy part, I use this on terminal blocks sometimes, and you don't feel like taping it or holding it and your solder and tacking it on there. This will just lift a part up from below if you've got the clearance, and it's designed to work with the Stickvise. So for a lot of boards, it'll fit underneath further in. You don't have to push that thing. It's a pack of 2, yeah. These are nice. Again, probably something you could 3D print if you wanted to, but these are very convenient and durable. And I've used these since 2020, so I've had them for 5 years. And I know where one of them is. I don't know where the other one went. It's somewhere. All right, thanks for the suggestion. Good suggestion. Next up, let's I want to talk about this little tooltip over here. Let me jump over to my workbench and talk box cutters. Oh, that's casting a big shadow. Let me set this back here. I'm just going to open up my Discord so I don't miss any key content. So I'm a fan of this 18mm box cutter, which you've probably seen or used before. These are super, super sharp, and they are snap-off. So the way I usually use that is just push that out a little below the snap-off line that you might be able to see there. Let me zoom way in. Okay, so you can see there's a little line there where when this gets dull enough, and especially if you're cutting cardboard with it, it gets dull pretty quickly. You just push this out one notch beyond where I was using it, so you can see that line. And then usually built into the handle of these is a little snappy offy guy. Still a good idea to have eye protection, but this is at least meant to keep things in place when you snap that off. I will snap it downward. If you just press this against something and snap it, it's going to fly at 100 miles an hour into someone's eye or something. So wear eye protection. Don't have innocent bystanders around. Use this little thing to snap it off, or some pliers. But these are great, and the way these a lot of these work, there's different holders for them. But if you pull this apart, there's a that's how the blade comes. I think I've snapped one or two off of this. And then there's a little hole in the last blade, which is double length. And that fits right there and then slides into whatever holder you've got. Be real careful. These things are razor sharp, literally. And then we can lock that like that. It's not going anywhere. So I have a few styles of these that I've gotten over the years. This is a very similar one, but these have a little screw that locks them in place. Tighten that up. I don't know if there's any real huge difference between that and that. Oh, sorry, I was zoomed way in, and you may not have seen what I was talking about a moment ago. Sorry about that. So one brand of these that I like that I see at the hardware store is Olfa, which I don't know if these guys are Swedish or what. Sounds Swedish, might not be. The blades are made in Japan in this case. Maybe it's a Japanese company. Yeah, Corporation Japan. So I don't know what the Olfa name is. They just fooled me. And they come in this little box. You get a bunch of blades. They're not very expensive. And I was looking around on 3D model sites for what other holders people have come up with for these. I saw a really fancy high-end titanium and aluminum versions of these that looked pretty cool. But this is one that I just found and printed, which is for that last nub. So that last little one, you can take that when you've gotten to that point, and with this little highly dangerous 3D printed one that has currently no way to hold it very securely, so you're going to want to put your thumb on the side of there. It has no cap. I shouldn't recommend this at all. It falls out. It's not stuck in there. But I wanted to print it anyway, and I wanted to show it to you so you can decide how you want to live your life, how dangerously you want to live your life. So press that in there. You could probably design a little way to secure this, thread that and put a screw in there that would just widen things out. You just heat blob it out and print one every time you need it. But anyway, I thought that was kind of a neat little design. And there's a lot of other stuff out there that people have done with these blades. Another type of little blade that I have around is just uses a razor. So this is a razor blade that you'll often use for scraping type of stuff. This little, it's in there pretty good, so I'm not going to take it out, but it's a typical sort of contractor painter's razor. and it goes into this little blade holder that has kind of a integrated sheath, and that's how I close that, and then push that out, cut a package or whatever, close that back up. So those are some interesting ideas. This is not, again, anything I'm endorsing, but I thought it's neat that it's out there. Maybe I'll design something that uses these, and I think there's also some very irresponsible designs you can make with these. I've seen sort of butterfly knife looking things where the blade is protruding out way far, which I really don't think you should use it that way, because that's just begging to snap and hurt someone. Makes me nervous. But yeah, so this now exists, and now I can. This was actually a fairly dull one that I had thrown away, but I grabbed out of the trash to use just for this demo here today. So don't take that as an indication of how these work. If we take one of these fresh ones, whoop, they work very nice. So. There you go. That is my little tool tip of the day. Go check out 18mm snap-off blades and some of their holders, dangerous or not. Let's see. Next up, I'll just do a brief thing. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I just wanted to show this typewriter that I'm fixing up. I don't remember. I think I got this at an estate sale a long time ago. I haven't used this one for much other than I had built a project for a maker fair many years ago that was used this very typewriter essentially as a base station for a little solenoid that tapped out Morse code on a little train on a track that then went down to the other end to a similar typewriter and repeated the message. So it was a very slow Pony Express. We called it. My friend Usman Mazafar and I built it. I can probably find some info about it up online. That was many years ago. So this hasn't been used for much, but however, it is in very nice working shape. None of the keys stick. I did a little bit of oiling recently of some of the mechanism. Oh, look, there's a key sticking. I'm a liar. And other than that, the main issue with this right now is that all of the little rollers have, the rubber on them has degraded. So the way that the paper is fed on these, you can see there are 4 rollers. Let me get something to point with. 4 rollers here on the front of the platen, which is what this bigger rubber thing is. This thing still has some pretty good grip. It's not decaying. These were destroyed, so I pulled out these little rods, and there are nice brass ferrules that the rubber was wrapped around. I scraped all that off using these kinds of knives as my scrapers. And then I layered up about 5 layers of heat shrink tubing, which isn't super tacky or sticky, but it seems to work pretty well. These are pressed up nice against there when it's in that mode. You can loosen that or tighten that. And now I've got to do the same for the back row. So if you look in the back here, and I'll adjust my... You can see there are 4 of these rollers. And these are just really dried out, and they're not crumbling, which they often are, although once I start picking at them after I remove this rod here, I'm sure they will come off in big chunks. They can spin freely if I lift that paper adjuster there. But these are what do the heavy lifting of pulling the paper from the back, and the other set in the front are what push it upwards. So I can't pull paper right now, so I've got to hand feed it. I'll show you what that looks like. This is a pretty thick piece of paper, which gives it some hope. So you can see I'm trying to feed this in, and it's just gonna, it's just, those rollers are not doing much. So if I push or just open that entirely so it's got no pressure on them, I can feed this up in here. Let's try to grab it. And now if I tighten that again, yeah, you can see it's just dragging on those rollers and creating a mess. So now it's sort of gripping. If I is this? Yeah, so this should be, that's not ratcheting. This should be advancing those every time we press that. Do I have something latched or unlatched? There we go. Let me get this. Huh. Well, that's definitely not working now. Oh, there we go. I had not opened this. All right, so there you can see it's trying, and it's just not getting any purchase. These are actually all making contact and not rotating. Now you can see them rotating a little bit if I pull on that some. So that's what gives us, once this is engaged properly, that's what gives us one single line or double line. If we adjust here, that's single lines to advance. I don't have the ribbon in right now, but you can see the carriage is moving nicely. These are flowing freely. It's actually trying to type a little bit just from latent ink on some of those there. So cover is off, by the way. This is a Remington Remette, so that's the only thing I've sort of taken apart on this. Is fairly open frame as it is, and it's a really minimal typewriter compared to some other Remingtons. This was a lightweight, portable model, very low profile, and it lacks a lot of the more advanced features. Doesn't even have a bell, although I've seen online some people have upgraded them to have a little simple bell mechanism. It does have margins, but unlike some where those are like up and in your face, the margin guides are back here in the back, and it'll stop when it reaches one of those, so you can adjust the margins on your page. So I'll maybe keep you updated if I get those replaced and it actually feeding paper. Other than that, the feet are shot. That's the other kind of very old rubber on here, so those are fairly fragile and have broken off. So I may try to replace those with some just gasket eyes or something like that. I think some people online have 3D printed these out of TPU as well. So there we go, the Remington Remette, lovely little typewriter. Hopefully I'll get that up and running again. All right, let's head back over here. And sorry, I was not scrolled down, so hopefully there weren't questions. Oh yeah, someone said 3D printer TPU rollers. Yeah, I think it's being done. I don't know how grippy TPU is either. I haven't got barely any TPU experience. Can you get inked ribbons for that? Yeah, so that's something that exists, and I don't know what if. I honestly do not know. These are some old ribbons. They still work. I do not know what that ink is, but it does not dry out. Maybe it's petroleum based or something, because I got, this is a 1942 machine. I don't know when those ribbons were purchased, but they just seem to last, which is wild. But yes, you can buy re-inked ribbons, modern ribbons. That machine is actually a single color, which is another simplification on it. So a lot of typewriters, I have another Remington, they will have a little selector switch that just raises or lowers everything, the height of that, so you can go the red or the black. That typewriter lacks that, so you get a solid black reel on it, which is cool. So cast iron or aluminum frame, I think it's a steel frame. I assume this is also, let's grab a magnet. Yeah, so this is that little cover. That's definitely ferrous. Pretty much everything on this thing is. I haven't encountered something this magnet doesn't stick to, which is kind of neat. Quite ferrous, so yeah, mostly steel. Oh, John Nodge says, made well with good quality Remington steel. Nicely done. Let's see, other questions. Oh wow, Dave Odessa says they sharpen the disposable blades. Right on. Really? And Christopher Netherton says, I use lock blade style of knife that uses double-sided Stanley blades. I use two, one for standard blade and one for hooked blade, which I use to break down cardboard. Oh yeah, nice. I had I think it was Milwaukee brand, like locking blade flip-out knife that used that type of razor on it, that type of blade on it. That type of ribbon is so cool. Yeah, I have a couple. I don't have a ton of typewriters, but I do have one that was a Smith Corona that was my dad's, and that's one I used when I was a kid even, and it had, I feel like it had a three-way selector, so I don't know what the third ribbon was for, if it was like some other, I don't know. I don't think it, I swear, did it have white? It didn't have, it might have had a whiteout. There might have been a whiteout. It couldn't have worked well, but I feel like that one had a three-way selector. I'll have to look into that. I could be making that up or misremembering. All right, and that concludes typewriter talk for today, unless there's other questions in the chats or thoughts. But let's move on to this upcoming project. It's not the next one, but it'll happen after, which is related to, let me go to the down shooter here and put myself in the corner, and let's zoom out a little bit. I'll get this out of the way. So this is going to be related to these parametric juggling balls that I designed. So I don't think I had printed this one last week. So this is the translucent PLA version of it, based on, gosh, did this happen? I think this happened since last week. We talked about putting grooves in these last time. And so I actually found there's these sort of hair bands that one of my daughters had that I put grooves into the 3D model. You can see it. Well, I don't have that. I don't have a opaque one here, but you can see I think you can see I've modeled some grooves into them that allow me to put 3 of these on, and that just lives in that little groove there. These are these kind of clear silicon bands. They're not like bands for braces, but they're similar to that. So that holds it together pretty well, but it's not going anywhere when I throw that and juggle that. But you can see it gives a little bit of give to it, but that's not coming apart. However, I'm kind of liking this idea for something that has rechargeable battery inside of it, rather than trying to build a port out to the world or do inductive charging. I'll just be able to open the thing, charge it, deal with settings, but it's basically closed when it's closed. You can see here I also designed a little groove on the inside that allows me to notch in and slip in this little ring. That's actually, I just printed it mostly without a center so that I could print this one quickly, but this is what I'm going to use as my carrier board for the electronics in here. And I believe last time I was talking about NRF 52840 a bit, but on Lamore's suggestion, I'm actually going to use these little guys. This is the QT Py ESP-32S3, and with these, I'll be able to stack on a BFF for power, so that we've got a little LiPo. Let me put this in focus. I've got a little LiPo battery BFF, and I believe that has a power switch. I don't think I brought one in here. I believe that has a power switch on it. If not, I'll just unplug the battery when it's not in use. And then over the Stemma QT, I'll plug in one of our small, maybe LIST 3DS accelerometers that has free fall detection. And I'm not trying to get too crazy fancy with this, but I think the idea would be it can register when it gets thrown, or register when it's in free fall on the downturn, or register the slam of actually catching it. So maybe just 2 states there, and those would send a ESP-NOW message back to a base station. So I'll probably have a Feather ESP32S3 with a reverse TFT Do I have one here? Something like this. Yeah, this is that exactly. So have this as a little base station, and this will be plugged into the computer. And so laptop or whatever, this can send USB MIDI directly, so I'm not having to deal with any wireless MIDI. The only wireless messages will just be these three. I can only juggle three. I'm not a better juggler than that, but you could expand this to 4, 5, 6, whatever. These would be sending messages back to the base station of their little state. And that could also be potentially bidirectional, so I could send messages back to these guys from the computer, from the base station, to change the lighting pattern, because I think I'm also going to include some little, couple of these little types of neopixels to glow these up. I just put a big honkin' LED into a battery holder just to look, and these will, I think, diffuse really nicely. It's a couple of LEDs in the middle pointing out. It's not going to be perfect coverage, but it should look pretty nice. Maybe more diffusion at the source will spread that out better. So that's the idea with these, and then I wanted to test out, I had heard from Dan Halbert that there were some versions of CircuitPython where ESP-NOW was or wasn't working, so I've got, I think, 10 alpha, one of the 10 alphas on these. And if I, let me plug all these into power, if I can find enough. USB-C power sources. Actually, while I've got 2 in, you can see all I'm doing in these sketches is I have slightly randomized timing of these so they don't try to do the same thing at the same time, because I don't have any way of right now having one get out of the way of the other. But essentially, when one of these blinks once, that's it sending its color. So this one I'm pointing at is the blue one. So when it blinks blue once, it's saying to anyone listening in this little ESP-NOW network, I'm blue, and the other one receives that and says okay, and blinks twice that color. This one here is the red one, so it's going to send out red, and this guy's going to acknowledge the receipt. So if I can plug this third guy in, if I find another USB-C cable, such as that. Just plug this into a battery. So actually, only one of these is plugged in my computer, which will make it easier to look at the code on it in a second. So this one's the green one. So once this one is up and running, you can see it is sending out green, and those other 2 guys are receiving it. So this is just my very first transceiver test, so I can send and receive. And I wanted to show you what that looks like in code. So let's let me close that and open. Okay, so here we go. Toddbot had an example he sent me, and I think that might be on his GitHub or on a gist, of one sending and one receiving. And then I combined those so that each of these can be both a transceiver, a transmitter, and a receiver. So what I do in here, import ESP-NOW. What is ESP-NOW? I don't know a lot about ESP-NOW, but what I can tell you is that it is a Wi-Fi radio-based, protocol for sending and receiving information that does not use the sort of normal, what are the words I'm looking for, the sort of normal Wi-Fi stack. It's not, it's a very simplified peer-to-peer messaging with Wi-Fi that uses MAC addresses to identify each other if they need to be identified, but it is way simpler than sort of a straight Wi-Fi stack. If I'm getting any of that right, please correct me in the in the comments, but it's something from Espressif, and this is my first time using it, so don't look to me to be an expert on it. But what I have is each of these are running the same code, and I just have told one of them right now, you're ball A, another is ball B, another is ball C. There are probably smart ways you could do that just based on knowing the MAC addresses that I'm working with here and saying, you know, sort of embedding that, so I don't have to go hand change these. But right now that's working out okay. Then I've set some colors based on A, B, and C being red, green, and blue. We start up the radio and we switch it to channel 6 and then turn it off. This was a hack that Todd had found about fixing an issue with being able to set the radio to the channel that you want. Again, I don't know the details on that, but if Todd's in the chat and can expound on that, that would be amazing. What else are we doing? We're getting a MAC address. We've got a little function here for blinking colors. We have a message receive, so receiving a message from another board and translating that into the color that we're going to blink to. And then we set up the ESP-NOW device, so each of these sets itself up as ESP-NOW.ESP-NOW. Broadcasting setup here is for this peer-to-peer on channel 6 and sending out the MAC address that you're on. We have a little function for getting the MAC address so that we know what to send. And then this is my little timing variation to avoid collisions, so they're not all sending at the same time. They could accidentally just get on the same exact rhythm. This is a little less likely. So we check time for that in the main loop. So if there's a message, if E, which is just the name of the ESP-NOW network, packet is equal to E read. So that's how easy it is to say, hey, I got a message. I'm going to cast that message, that read message, as packet. And then the sender MAC uses that format function to get the packet of the MAC address. Let's see, we're not reading our own messages, and let me open up the REPL here. So that we can see what's flying around. So I'll pause this for a moment. Scroll back up so you can see first one here. There's the MAC address received hello from ball C at the time that we received it, I believe. Received from ball C, the double blink. Transmitted hello from ball A, so we sent that and then received one from ball B and ball C, double blink. So that's the whole entirety of the messaging that's going around. What else? Yeah, so this is where we send the message right here. Send message and the broadcast peer. There's a little delay there as well, but the randomized delay is happening up above. So that's it. That's all I have so far. I'll learn a lot more about it, I promise. And the messaging really is going to be these. Ideally only sending a message when the accelerometer says to. So we'll be reading the little simple accelerometer, list3h, and saying that we've had a big jolt because we've been caught. So that should be tap detection, which is easy. The library makes it easy to use. And free fall detection, which is when it reaches the peak and starts to come down. Those, we'll see if that's fast enough. It'll be over I²C. We'll see if those are quick enough to look interesting. And then all of those messages will be received by this Feather board, and that will tell the computer we're plugged into to do something. I'm planning MIDI messages. A lot of this is based on some defunct juggling balls that existed that I forget what they're called. They were out there. They were very cool. They were pretty expensive, and they made all they wanted to make, so they're even more expensive now. So I don't know of any other easy to get a hold of Bluetooth or Wi-Fi juggling balls that can send wireless info to a computer and receive info. So this is my attempt at doing something like that. And like I said, the main thing will be just to get messages received here or to send messages that way, which could be lighting stuff for the most part, but that's my plan with it. That's how that's working right now. So I'm really excited that this works this easily. Pretty simple code-wise, and the additions to it, again, I'm happy to not try to send wireless MIDI, but instead just send a little simple message over to the Feather, which can then do USB MIDI, which means I could use it on something like my little trusty friend here, the little black box, because this can host that Feather, that USB MIDI Feather, and just receive sort of normal MIDI messages, which would be cool. Oh, Dave Odessa says it'd be interesting to test the working distance. That's a good point. Let me let's simplify this. I'm gonna unplug this one, and now I will walk away with this one. So essentially, if you see this one plugged in down on my monitor there, let me go to pick a different view. Okay, so this one here is receiving every time this one that I'm holding blinks red, or does it blink green? Wait, let me restart both of these. Maybe something got confused. Okay, plug you in. So that one is what? Blue? No, red. So that one sends red, and right now it's not receiving anything, so it's never double blinking. This one that I'm holding is the blue, right? Green. Okay. This one I'm holding right here is going to blink once green. That one will blink twice to receive the green. So that means if I walk away and you still see double green blinks, then we're in range. So I'm back here, I don't know, 10 feet away. I'm over here. Can you still see me? I'm way over here. Still receiving green. So that is a very unscientific test of the range, but that's enough for what I'm trying to do here. Also, I believe the antenna is bigger on the Feather. The Feather ESP-32 S3 is a bigger package, so there's a chance that that will improve the reception. There's also a Feather, I think there's a Feather ESP-32 reverse TFT that has a antenna port, so you can plug in a bigger antenna. So that would be great if you were trying to go from like a stage to a backstage computer that's receiving. So that's the nice thing, is that these are actually not going to really communicate from ball to ball unless there was some reason to do that. Could be cool. But really the farther communication will be to this little base station, and I envision, yeah, maybe put one of those little antennas on it. I'll show you what I'm talking about over here. That's Feather. Put this back here. ESP-32 S3. Reverse TFT, this is the one. Hopefully I have one of these. No, I don't think I have one of these, and it's out of stock, but maybe I'll come back in stock. So there's one with a PCB antenna, but there's this one with the little antenna adapter. So that's the one right there if you really needed to get some range, that would do it. Yeah, Dave Odessa said, do some boards have that micro whatever FL, WFL, is that what it's called? Micro FL connector. This is the one right here, yeah. That'll give us some distance. Some nice says, so does ESP-NOW handle collisions? Would it help to use async I/O? Great question. I do not know. I don't know if it does handle collisions. I think if we do, let me go to Learn and do ESP-NOW. There's a couple guides that work with it, I believe. Let's see. Is this guide? Or maybe that was something I looked up, but the let me look up Adafruit CircuitPython ESP-NOW module. So this is the, if you just type in CircuitPython ESP-NOW, you'll find the docs.circuitpython.org about it. And this should have as much info as we've got available on it right here. Send success, send failure. Oh, so we can do, yeah, we can do some sort of error correction type of checking. Drop packets due to buffer overflow. Yeah, so there's some pretty useful stuff in here. Maintains a list of peers internally. Yeah, so this, you know, it's got enough, I think. Oh yeah, somebody said they were just checking. Cool. All right, yeah, that's the project. That's what I'll be working on. However, I will probably pause on this for a bit as I get my fruit jam project up and running. So this may be on the back burner, but depending on, I might kind of work on them in parallel a little bit. Other thoughts and questions. I saw some people talking about the age of that typewriter I was showing, which I think was 1942. Yeah, some discussions about rationing in the war. Yeah, is that when Remington switched? I don't know. Was Remington always doing typewriters and guns? But I know that they did do both. We're mentioning World War II war efforts. Any other questions in the chats? I'll bring that Discord back up there. Lars is really digging his dual-sided NeoPixels back there, by the way. All right, I think that's it. Yeah? All right. Last thing I will do is mention again, if you want to save money in the store today, go get some, maybe get a head start on these. If you want to do some cool ESP-NOW projects, these little S3 cutie pies are a good way to go. That's your discount. Pastrami. That'll get you 10% off in the store and make you very hungry. I might go out for a sandwich right after this. Pastrami, P-A-S-T-R-A-M-I. That is the coupon code for today. Go to Adafruit shop, buy some neat stuff. It's got to be goods. No software, no gift certificates, no subscriptions. But if you buy actual things that we can send to you in the mail, you get 10% off. The other thing I will say is you can get free stuff as well. So if you do adafruit.com/free. What? Free? Yes, free. Spend $99 or more, you get a free coaster, Adafruit logo coaster. If you spend $149 or more, you get the coaster and a KB2040. If you spend $199 or more, you get the coaster, the KB2040, and free continental U.S. ground shipping with UPS. Christopher Netherton in the chat says, I'm tempted by the 3-color e-ink display. Pretty tempting. And do we have those in stock? Yes. Right there. This is a very cool. Digging that. All right, that is it. That is all the pastrami I've got for you. Thanks everyone so much for stopping by. We will have I believe a deep dive with Foamy Guy tomorrow. Desk of Lady Ada at various Desk of Lady Ada times over the weekend, possibly. Back on Tuesday with a product pick of the week. Wednesday morning with 3D Hangouts. Wednesday early evening with Show and Tell. Wednesday later evening with Ask an Engineer. And then I'll be back again with this. So thanks everyone so much for stopping by. For Adafruit Industries, I'm John Park. This has been John Park's Workshop. Bye-bye.
I'll